Welcome to the breakfast and lunch section of the group. I don't spend like a couple-hour block of doing breakfast and lunch like I do with dinner. I do more make it as I go. So if I'm already going to make chicken nuggets, then I make just a ton of them for the freezer. Same with breakfast. If I'm already going to make waffles, then I make a ton of them. So let me start with that actually. So we ran out of biscuits. I have a couple of locusts that went through all of my biscuits that I had made. And so this morning I made some biscuits. And I don't label my breakfast stuff because we go through it so fast. But so I already we ate what we were going to eat. And I already put them in the freezer. I scraped them so that they weren't stuck to the bottom of the pan. And I put them in the freezer. And then now I just transfer them to a Ziploc bag so that we can pull individual biscuits as we want to eat them, and so that I don't have to make biscuits every time we need biscuits. So this should last us a while because I keep at least 4 choices of breakfast breads in the freezer. And that's how I do breakfast. So as we get low on stuff, I decide what I'm going to make for the morning based on what we're low on. And if we're good on everything, then I just take out of the freezer. It's a pretty good system. So I am out of both Cali Tots and chicken nuggets for lunch choices. So that's what I'm going to work on today. We're going to actually have the chicken nuggets for lunch. And then the Cali Tots I'm just making while I'm doing this. So I did my freezer prep for dinner last night, and this is leftover cauliflower, so it's already washed. So I'm going to wash this one. I'm going to chop them into relatively small pieces. Now, you can make the Cali Tots 2 ways. You can either steam the cauliflower first, and then they actually stick together. I like them better steamed first, the pieces, if you're going to eat them right away. If you're going to freeze them, I prefer to leave it raw because I think that they get mushy in the freezer. I'm going to... You can't see what I'm doing. I'm going to scoot this over, move my cutting board over here so you can see what I'm doing. I have way too much cauliflower in here for now, so I'm going to make some room. And if you put your hand on the edge of the blade and kind of hold it down and then rotate your blade around, it's an easier way to cut things up. Learned that from Julia Child. So you can do this if you don't have a food processor. If you do have a food processor, then you can just cut the chunks like this. Stick it in the food processor. You don't want to do it too full though. So about 1/3 of the way. And then you can process it. So I prefer the food processor. I use my food processor for everything. Make sure you can see. Alright, that's all my cauliflower that I'm going to do for my Cali Tots. I love this bowl, it's gigantic. So the way I'm doing this is I'm doing all my food processor stuff first. Because I can't turn my food processor on when Jack is sleeping. So I'm going to get that stuff done first and then finish this stuff while he's sleeping. Alright, now I'm going to work on my breadcrumbs for my chicken nuggets. So I was lazy and I bought hamburger buns the other day for Sloppy Joe's. And so I dried these out because they're the leftovers. They've been sitting out since yesterday. And I'm going to use these for my breadcrumbs. So to do it, you just tear them up and put it in the food processor. I'm going to season them a little bit just with some salt, some oregano. This is from my herb garden from last year that I dried. And pepper. And that's pretty good for the breadcrumbs. I'm going to dump them out on a cookie sheet to brown in the oven. I've dried it out pretty good, but they could use some more drying. So I'm just going to spread them out. You want them pretty thin. I'll put them in the oven. Alright, last thing I need, this is for my Collie Tots. I need some shredded cheese. First I'm being taxed by this little guy. And so I need to put that in my food processor. So I'm not going to use all of this cheese, but I will use shredded cheese throughout the week, so I just shredded the whole thing. And so now I'm going to transfer it into a dish. I think you can see. There we go. So that I can wash my food processor out, and that's everything that I need processed so that I'll be ready to go during nap time. Alright, it's nap time, so now I'm going to work on assembling my Collie Tots and my chicken nuggets. And I'm going to mix up some shredded chicken and put barbecue sauce on it for Brian's lunches to freeze, because we found out yesterday that he's returning to work tomorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. First I'm going to work on doing my Collie Tots, and then I'm going to work on the chicken nuggets. So the Collie Tots, I've already put my cauliflower in the food processor, my cheese. This is greens from my garden from last year that I already mulched. So I'm just going to add those in. I'm going to drain some liquid out. I'm throwing in my greens. This is kale, spinach, and a bunch of different lettuces. And I put that in there because you don't even notice that it's there. I'm going to put in some cornmeal, and this is how I cook. I just kind of throw stuff in. I don't really measure. I'm going to do some seasonings. So I like to put in mine some oregano. This is also from the garden. I'm just going to crunch it up. Get that stick out of there. Some salt and pepper. Onion powder. And I'm going to crack 2 eggs in it. And I'll put some cheese, just till I think it looks good. Probably about 3 handfuls of cheese. Do just a little bit more cornmeal because it helps hold it together. And now I just mix it up like you would a meatloaf. And now I'll ladle it into muffin tins. I'm going to work on my chicken nuggets. So first I need to cut my chicken into nugget size. I do them pretty small. Actually, I think I'll do more strips this time because it'll go faster. So I'll do my chicken first, and I already did my breadcrumbs. This is the breadcrumbs that I did in the food processor earlier, and I browned them in the oven while we were having our Shakeology. And so I'm just going to break them up because they get kind of clumpy while they're in the oven. It's really easy to make breadcrumbs if you've never done it before, especially if you get stale bread. Like I like to make our bread usually, but I got lazy with this when I bought the buns. But normally if you make bread, it goes stale pretty quick, and it makes pretty good breadcrumbs. Or croutons, if you want croutons for your salad. Alright, so I'm going to do an egg. I'm going to add a little bit of water to it. And then I whisk the egg and the water together, and this will be my egg wash for my chicken. I don't need the cheese anymore, so I can move that out of the way. Don't need the breadcrumbs anymore, and the eggs are good, so I'll put those away. So now I have my room, but I've got my egg, breadcrumbs, and then here's my first cookie sheet that I'll use for putting them on for cooking. So here's my chicken. And so I'm just going to cut all this up. I'm going to transfer some of these breadcrumbs to a dish, because I don't know if I'm going to use them all. And I don't want to waste them by getting meat on them if I don't use them all. So that way I'm guaranteed to not waste them. Pretty sure I'll probably use most of them though. And then I just make my assembly line. So egg wash first, then breadcrumbs. Oh, and I'm going to add a little bit of Parmesan cheese to that. Because why not? Mix it in, gives a little bit more flavor. And my son loves these. He's never had chicken nuggets that haven't been homemade. So definitely a big fan of real food for the littles. So just dip your chicken in the egg wash, coat it pretty good with your breadcrumbs, and then transfer your baking sheet. Now I have my chicken all breaded, and I just have to wait for the Cali Tots to come out, but I'll cook these at 350 degrees for 20 to 30 minutes, or until they're cooked all the way through. So for the rest of the breadcrumbs, I'm just going to store them in a mason jar, and I'll put them in the refrigerator. And we'll come back and I'll show you how I freeze this stuff. Alright, last segment of the breakfast and lunch. So whenever I freeze anything from a muffin tin, I always transfer it to a cookie sheet first. That's blueberry muffins, or like the mini meatloafs, or the egg cups, or the Cali Tots. I'm going to move it from here to here just so that it's easy to get out. If you freeze them right in the muffin tin, it's really hard to get them out. So I'm just going to take them out. I've let these cool, by the way. Transfer them to the cookie sheet, and I'm going to let them freeze until they're hard enough to where I don't, they're not going to stick together, and then I'll transfer them to a Ziploc bag. I'll do the same exact thing with the chicken nuggets. So let me show you. Only the chicken nuggets, These just came out of the oven, so I'm not going to put them in the freezer yet. That, and I don't have any room because I'm going to be putting the Cali Tots in. But anytime also I bake anything on a cookie sheet, I just take a spatula and I make sure that it's not stuck to the bottom. Because if you freeze it while it's stuck to the bottom, it'll make it hard to get off of the cookie sheet. But if you just do this, then it'll make it easier. And then once these are cooled down, I'll just stick them right in the freezer. And once they're frozen, I'll transfer them to a Ziploc bag. So that is the breakfast and lunch, how I do my breakfast and lunch. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a message or post in the comments section. Thanks for watching.